Hello, welcome to the Vibrant Life podcast, the official podcast of the Vibrant Life community. I'm Sarah Nolan, and I'm a burnout prevention and an energy management consultant. And I'm here with Shannel Rivera from The Beauty and Hustle. And she went from $9 an hour to six figures at FedEx. And then she left it all to create a seven-figure brand, helping to empower women to understand that they're supported and to lift each other up. And Shannel, I'm so excited to have you here today with us. I'm really excited about your story, and I feel like this is going to be just so empowering and uplifting to everybody who's listening because, we have all been through hard times, and it sounds like you have been through some harder times than a lot of people. And have come to a really beautiful place. And I know you're still moving forward. You're still rising. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah. So well, first of all, I met Shannel in a Facebook group. From Zachary Babcock has a Facebook group. It's like the Underdog Entrepreneur. And I had requested people to share their underdog stories on the podcast. And Shannel has an amazing story to share. And so that's how we connected. And we met just a little bit ago on this call, and I'm just really excited to hear more of your story. I got to hear just a little bit about it. So can you tell us, and everybody watching and listening, how that's a pretty big jump to go from $9 an hour to six figures. Like that's not, most people stay in their little zone their entire life. So how do you feel like that happened?
Yeah, so I was actually traveling for a year with my then boyfriend, who's now my husband, and he was working a traveling position for Northrop Grumman. And so I actually looked at FedEx.com for jobs for him. And so I was looking for a job for him because my thought was if I could get him off the road and kind of settled down at that time, which was now, I don't know, 14 years ago, felt as if we could then try to build a life. We had been dating, but we were traveling. So there was all of these things. So I actually applied for a customer service job for me just to see if I could get a call back. And then I forwarded him some stuff so that he could apply. And I got a call back instantly. They asked me to come to a job fair, and it was during the time of the recession. So things were really tough for everybody. So I walked in. There was about 300 people at this job fair in this little teeny tiny building. And I remember calling a friend going, this is terrible. I'm going to leave and meet you for lunch. And I called my boyfriend, my husband, and I said, hey, there's like too many people here. I'm going to go home. And he said, just stay, even if it's for interview experience, because you haven't been working for the last year. And I said, okay. So I stayed. I went through 4 interviews in one day, and they kept telling me, you're overqualified for this, but we want you to start as a part-time team member. Basically, I was hired to say hello to people. Okay? Hello. I was like the Walmart greeter, right? Which there's no shame in that. I needed a job too, so whatever. So $9 an hour.
Hold on. Tell us the story. Tell us kind of what led up to this. Like you were saying, you came from poverty, and stuff like that. Does that kind of tie?
Yeah, I mean, so growing up, I didn't have a lot. I grew up with a single mom that, had 2, 3, 4 jobs at a time.
Yeah.
So I literally grew up in the living room of my grandma's house. All of us lived in grandma's house, right? Mm-hmm. She was that one constant. And so I grew up with not having a lot. And so I grew up with this scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
And so being an adult and going to get a job for $9 an hour, I was actually excited about it because I felt so grateful to have an opportunity to make money again, or, all of these things. So I think it definitely played into it. It played to how my mind worked and how hard I've had to work to change my mindset in the last 10 years. But yeah, that definitely played into it. And I felt really proud. It was this really awesome company for FedEx. Who doesn't want to say they work for FedEx, right? I wasn't going to go scream from the rooftops, I'm a greeter for $9. It was just, hey, I'm working at FedEx. People could decide what they thought I did at that time.
And I love how, you were so proud and grateful for that opportunity. Some people might
Absolutely.
look at that and be like, what, $9 an hour at FedEx, because they have different expectations.
Yeah.
But, for anybody coming from anywhere, like that's an opportunity,
Yeah,
and then look where
absolutely.
that was like a starting point. Look where,
100%. And so once I started at FedEx, my gratefulness did start to kind of shift into frustration, because you realize what $9 an hour makes your paycheck look like.
yeah.
And all the overtime and working extra shifts and all of these things, all of that stuff is great, but your paycheck. And I mean, I wasn't, a kid. I wasn't 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. I was 25 years old, sharing a car with my husband, and I was taking the bus to FedEx making $9 an hour. So quickly I realized, hey, this is a great opportunity. However, I need a way out of this. I need to do more, make more. So I started asking a lot of questions, and at FedEx, they have a lot of these like manual guides that, collect dust. Nobody reads them. And I started actually reading all of them because I wanted to be the person that had all the answers, things. So that way they needed me, because I was part-time. I needed to be full-time so I could get benefits. I needed to be full-time so I could get a little bit of a raise, all of those things. So I started reading all of the manuals. I started picking up any shifts or even at different locations to start to get to know people and like network with people, that kind of stuff. And very quickly I realized, okay, wait, I can do something here. And so I started working really hard. And within the first year, I actually became an assistant manager, which is so funny. I was just telling my husband the other day, I remember getting an offer letter. I think it was like $13.50. And I just remember bawling like, oh my gosh, this is the end. Like, this is great. We're getting to the end of this bad chapter. I'm now making $13.50. And so I became an assistant manager, and there were some things that happened within the organization that actually got me to be able to get my own store within the next couple of months. So within 1 year, I started having my own store. Now, I had no idea what I was doing. Even though I had read all the manuals, I didn't have a degree. I didn't really know how to use Excel. But when people would ask me for things, I would say, sure. I would hang up and I would start Googling stuff. I started teaching myself how to use Excel, how to do pivot tables, how to do, what is a P&L? What does that even stand for? Because people would ask me for it, and I'm like, oh, it's a profit and loss statement. Oh yeah, I can totally figure that out, right? And so I just started teaching myself. Oh, you're on mute.
You were so resourceful, every moment it sounds like you were just like tapping into like expanding your mind, expanding your knowledge base, and that's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, at that point, I could either be resourceful or I could give up.
Right.
There really wasn't any middle ground for me to try to stand on. So I took over a store. It started doing amazing things. And then I became known as the fixer. I was the fixer of all things FedEx. And so they started transferring me from store to store to fix all of these stores that had profitability issues. They had team member issues. They had culture issues. They just had all of this stuff that was wrong within these centers. And I started fixing them one by one, very slowly. And well, I say it slowly, probably very quickly. Within a year, I had fixed 3 stores.
Wow.
And started
That's
to gain
incredible.
this huge attention of all these people, like, where did she come from? How is she doing this? And within 4 years, I was, accepted as a district manager. And literally it shook the whole FedEx world, because nobody had ever been promoted that fast. Nobody was in my age range. there wasn't a lot of women. There were not a lot of, non-white people
Mm-hmm.
in that position, right? So there was all of these things kind of stacked against me, but yeah, I just kept taking that initiative and taking that drive that I had found when I was making an hour and kept building. And really quickly at FedEx, I took my district from being 120, they were ranked 120 out of 126. And so the first year I was able to move the needle in 9 months to being number 13. I
Amazing.
was so happy about. And then I was number 3 the next year, and then I was number
Wow.
1 the next year. So, and all of these things were being told to me that it can't be repeated because then they add stuff to your budget, all of these things. But what I found was I had this secret sauce within my team. And literally, because of the team around me, I was unstoppable. There was nothing that could ever stop us. And so,
What was your secret sauce? Can you share that?
yeah, of course. My secret sauce within my team was really the culture that I built.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
preventing the burnout from my direct reports. So much in corporate culture, you see it all the time, right? Where people are just numbers in a corporation, or they're just, like, what's the phrase where they're just like, being whipped to death. Like they're just go, work harder, do more. And I approached my team in a completely different manner. I was the person that, if you called me to ask a question and I could hear that you were tired or you had a cough or something like that, I would send you home. My managers, go home, like go home early today. No, it's okay, boss. It's fine. I'm like, no, really, go home. And it created this culture where everybody respected each other so much.
Yeah.
People were helping each other so much. And there's something about that synergy. And it was crazy because, I had 12 stores, so they all worked independently. But there was this family morale that no matter what you needed, even if you were 30 minutes or an hour down the road, all of these adults would hop in their car and come to your aid. And I mean, it was just so powerful that nobody was able to ever duplicate it because everyone was stuck chasing numbers. Oh, we need to make more money. We need to drive productivity. We need to number. And I was so focused on the people that the numbers happened regardless, because these people are not burnt out. They're well taken care of. They're happy. They're engaged. They're inspired. And so we started making money. I mean, we beat my peers by hundreds of millions of dollars, not like a little bit. Like it was a landslide between first place and second. And it was really because these people wanted to be at work. They were excited to be there, and so I think that so many people could learn by treating their teammates like humans. I know, like a crazy concept, treating them with that kindness that every human craves, because they are going to work 100 times harder for you,
Oh yeah,
and
sure.
you get to go to work and feel good about yourself. So why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah, I feel like so often, especially as companies start scaling, it's all about the tracking and the metrics, which are super important, right? But you can't track love, you can't track respect and appreciation.
Totally.
And so I love that you brought that into the company. And I know you said that you moved on from the company to do your own thing, but I'm sure that you left an imprint. I'm sure that you've created some kind of a legacy for FedEx that's going to live on, even now that you've moved on, which is such a gift.
I mean, I still talk to all of my team.
Yeah.
Almost on a weekly basis. I'll get at least one text or call. Hey, boss, I have a question about this. I'm still helping them because it really was never about winning or me or a prize. It was really about creating that foundation of trust, love, and respect for other humans. And so I definitely feel that they're still there making their mark. I'm still working really hard to be able to retire some of them from FedEx and bring them into my world again, which is like a huge goal that I have for 2020. But, I definitely think that the coolest thing is I was actually looking for an email. I went to a wedding of a girl that's worked for me for years at FedEx. And I was looking for an email before I went to the wedding, and I found a letter she had sent me when I had sent out my, my I'll see you later, see you soon, this isn't goodbye type of email that I sent to my team. And what I ended up finding was a letter from one of her old team members, which was like this girl was a part-time team member. I've been gone from FedEx for 3 years, so this was 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was a part-time team member. I maybe had, a little bit of interaction, not a ton. And I found this letter and I had read it. And so the craziest thing was I saw her at this wedding a couple weekends ago, and she ran up to me, and she's grown up a lot in the last 4 years. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, I just got my own store." She's crying. Her mom is there. She's introducing, "Mom, this is the reason I'm successful at FedEx." And it just really hit me, like you said, that I've left that imprint, but sometimes you forget that it goes way further than your front line, it goes all the way down. And so it's just really interesting to connect with her, and she was quoting me from meetings that I've done years ago. She's like, "I have that on my wall in my office."
Oh my gosh.
It just gave me chills. And I'm just sitting there thinking, wow, you're really onto something, Shannel. Like the stuff that I've been doing, sometimes you forget all you've been working on and how it brings you to this bigger, better place in your life, and you forget about it. And so I feel like the universe always connects me to stories like that to remind me to keep going and not give up. So sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent, but it totally was about that like imprint that you've left on this person that you didn't even realize you had that much of an impact on.
Yeah, and such an important reminder for all of us, everybody watching and listening is, don't forget about your impact on other people. I know sometimes the journey feels a little bit like, just looking at what's in front of us, like supporting our families and, what we can see, but what we can see is like just the tip of the iceberg. You just never know how things are impacting out in the world. So thank you for sharing that. So what happened? Why did you end up leaving the company, and what are you up to now?
So there started to be some major shifts, and I'm a huge person that operates in the mode of authenticity. And so when I feel like I can't be my most authentic self, I feel like I can't deliver the results that A, I'm known for, and B, that I'm proud of. And so for a long time at FedEx, I could easily look to anyone that worked under me in any fashion and say, "Hey, do this, this, and this, and we can get you promoted. We can make you more money." And I knew it was real because I had done it for myself, and I was selling that dream all day, every day. Yep, we're going to hire you today for $10 an hour, but in 4 years, if you want to be making 6 figures, you can be just like me. I'm not a special snowflake. I'm going to teach you blueprint. I'm going to do this, and you're going to change your life forever, And so there started to be these shifts at FedEx that I didn't feel comfortable saying that anymore. A lot of politics, a lot of just different things happening. And I was sick for a long time, and I had to go on leave a couple of times. Mind you, I was still kicking ass while I was on leave because nothing changed while I was gone. If anything, they were running harder, right? Because they let their boss down. So I came back from a leave, and I went to Hawaii for a President's Club trip that I had earned with most people go with like one manager that helped them get there. And I had 3 managers that year that won. And we went, and I was just really upset because while I was on leave, I couldn't help but think that one of those 3 managers should have been taking my place in the interim while I was gone. And that was not what happened, and it was not what was happening. And I started to feel like these 3 people were amazing. Like I'm looking at them on a beach in Hawaii, and I'm so proud, like a mom, Oh my gosh, my babies are growing up and they earned this trip and they're amazing, and they're not getting what they need, right? They're not being afforded the opportunities that not only did they deserve, but that they could have been so amazing at. It was given to somebody else that didn't deserve it under any circumstance, like numbers wise, culture wise, people wise, service wise, none of those things were things that were looked at. And so it started to shift within inside of me of like, I don't feel good about this. And so I actually made the decision to apply to laterally transfer to Las Vegas. And so in Hawaii, I kept thinking, well, they're all kind of grown up. They got to figure it out. I'm going to move to Hawaii with FedEx and let me see what I can do there. And while I was in Hawaii, I kept being told that, why do you want to go to Vegas? And I'm like, well, I want to buy a house. I couldn't afford to buy a house in Los Angeles. And so they kept trying to convince me to not apply, to not interview. I mean, it was literally lateral transfer and I was number one. So everyone kept going, why are they giving you such a hard time? I'm like, I have no idea. And so ultimately they didn't grant my transfer. They promoted somebody else instead of letting me laterally transfer. And I had just closed on a house. And I took it as my sign. I mean, I'm a huge advocate of not burning bridges, lighting them. Like, I want to light that shit on fire. I want to be done with this. Like, how can you tell me that I can't transfer? I wasn't asking for any more money. And it was just this huge sign from the universe of, you are meant for way more things, Shannel. You need to.
Yeah.
And that chapter taught me so much. I'm so grateful for it. Even any of the kind of bad stuff that happened or, the negative things, even like not getting transferred. I'm so grateful for all of those things, because they taught me so much about politics. They taught me about corporations, and they taught me so much about me. And I learned so much while I was at FedEx. But yeah, so I literally called my boss when I got back from Hawaii, and they called me and said, we're not granting your transfer. And I said, well, I just bought a house. Like, I don't even know how.
Did you buy the house in Las Vegas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I had just bought a house in Vegas, and I'm like, I don't even know how this is legal. Like, how are you guys telling me no? Because I deserve it, And so it went into this whole thing. And at the time I was actually in direct sales, and I had gotten this random box of stuff. Well, it wasn't really random. It was like a new capsule collection type thing. 600 pieces of leggings. Okay. And it randomly came. So they called me on Friday to tell me no about Vegas. And on Saturday, the only time I've ever gotten a UPS delivery ever was Saturday. 600 leggings come. I look at my husband. I call my mom. I say, I need you here. We're going to go live. We're going to sell these leggings. And I sat
600 down. Leggings is a lot of, that's a lot. Like, how big was the box?
Well, there was like 20 boxes, probably, like just boxes on boxes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so I sat down with myself and I said, if you can sell every single piece that comes, you can call on Monday and quit your job. But if you can't, you're going to have to figure something out with this whole house thing. And so I didn't tell my husband. I didn't tell my mom. I went live and I sold every single pair of leggings.
And how did you sell them?
We were live. So we were on Facebook Live, and we had been doing it, but I had never sold 600 pieces, and I never sold 600 pieces ever.
And how long? Like in a weekend and a couple of weeks?
No, that was in like 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we made, I want to say, like almost 20 grand in 2 hours.
Amazing. And who's we?
Yeah, me and my husband, we were live, and my mom was like, my mom would take notes, Sarah bought number 111, whatever. So we would have to be organized, right? And so as soon as I'm turning off the camera, I just start crying. My husband's like, well, you're a crazy person. I said, I was waiting for them to tell me I was crazy, because I said, well, I told myself if we could sell every single pair, I'm going to quit FedEx. And
in 2 hours, 2 hours, you sold 600 pairs of leggings. It's just like blowing my mind right now.
And so I sat there waiting for the wrath from them, going, and both of them were like, yeah, you should. Yeah, you should quit FedEx. And I'm like, wait, what? So I called them Monday and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't feel like my team is being treated fairly. I don't feel like I'm being treated fairly, and I can't operate in my zone of genius when I don't think that things are an even playing field, And I was, all of my peers that I kind of alluded to, everyone's like, oh, well, be prepared. They're going to offer you money. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Like, they're going to throw all of these things to entice you. And my boss literally said, okay, please don't tell anybody else.
Okay.
Because I need to fill your position before you leave.
Interesting.
And I honestly felt like, I mean, I've never been divorced, but I equated it to, if I would ever call my husband and go, you know what, I've been thinking about it. We just came back from our vacation in Hawaii and I want a divorce. I mean, I feel like it was more of an insult for them to say, okay, then, you know what I mean? I mean, good for me. It made it easier for me. But yeah, so I had already had Beauty and Hustle, which was a makeup group, and I was selling clothing, like I said. And so I already had a little bit of a foundation, but you know, at the time that I was a district manager, I never in my wildest dreams was like, you know what, one day I'm just gonna light this bridge on fire and go build my own stuff. I mean, maybe deep down subconsciously, like I really wanted that, but I didn't really know that that was possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I quit, and 2 weeks later, we were in Vegas with no jobs, just our direct sales business and Beauty and Hustle at the time. And so, yeah, we started, you know, selling more clothes, which we sold lots and lots and lots of clothes. And I started to have this grieving feeling of missing mentoring people, missing those calls of, boss, we just did this, or oh my gosh, we just did this, or oh my gosh, because of you, like I'm gonna be able to get this, you know. And so I started training the girls within my direct sales company locally, and one of them was so resistant and was like, I don't want to make that much money, you know. I'm like, why? Who doesn't want to make all this money? And I started having lunch with her every week, and it was really igniting that part of me that I thought was missing for a long time. And she went from making like $4,000 of revenue every month to doing $25,000.
Amazing.
And she was able to quit her corporate job, and she's able to do all of these things. And she was like, you need to be coaching people at scale. Like you need to be talking to anybody and everybody that you can. And so I started a coaching business online. I found a coach, and she says, I go, well, I don't have a website. I'm not really good at that stuff. I don't have any, you know, materials made. She goes, just make a post. Make one post. And if you don't sell anything, fine. I said, okay. I said, but I don't have anything built. Like the people, and she's like, your people don't need it built. They just need you to show up. And I'm like, okay. I made one post, and I had 150 people enrolled in a $350 course.
Amazing.
In a matter of a weekend. No website, a PayPal link. That's what I was working with. And so again, I just felt like, oh, I think you're kind of onto something. Now you have to build this course, you know? And so
now you have to build the course.
Yeah, now I have to kind of teach these people some stuff, which was second nature to me. But the whole front process of it was thinking that I needed to run ads or, you know, all of these things that you see other people on the internet doing, and you start comparing yourself to others, and you think that you need to do all of that. And the answer is, if you don't, then you don't, you know? So I started doing that, and then eventually working, I have some corporate clients that I work with, trying to teach them that culture that wins. Then we do women retreats, which are my favorite things in the whole wide world. We rent an estate in Vegas. We're doing one on the East Coast in February too, but we rent an estate, and these women just have these major, powerful breakthroughs, these shifts. You know, it started off as like a business retreat, and what I quickly realized was, if your mind is jacked up, your business is never gonna take off. And so I've started to do, you know, we meditate, we do affirmations, they're learning all of these things. And now we do business retreats maybe 5 or 6 times a year. And that's my favorite thing ever, because women are literally changing right in front of my eyes. And it's just been so impactful to see that, because I don't get that gratification in an online group type of
Right.
coaching setting. And so to see that, I mean, some of the best compliments that I've gotten are from the husbands.
Yeah, I can imagine
Hey,
that.
I don't know what you did over this, but anytime you have any of them, please email me personally, because she may not want to go. She may not want to spend the money again, but please email me. I will pay you in full, like bada boom, because
That's
she's
awesome.
changed. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like I love the retreats for so many reasons, because we all crave that human connection that I feel some of us have lost due to social media.
Yeah.
Because we don't take the initiative to say, hey, Sarah, I'm in your town this weekend at a speaking gig. Want to eat lunch together? We're not taking that initiative, And so social media can connect you with real humans, right? In real life, but we don't a lot of times take that initiative. So the retreat kind of forces some of that. And yeah, I love that. I love it so much. I mean, I'm working on just being able to do that and speak for the rest of my life. Like, I would be the most happiest person in the whole wide world.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I do a lot of retreats like that too. And just to
Awesome.
see, it's like sometimes you can literally see their energy like shifting before your eyes. I'm like, wait, you look different now than you looked like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, yeah, it's so
It's the most
crazy.
amazing thing.
Yeah, and even at one of the retreats, I had this woman, and she was, and you've probably experienced this too. It was very much so aggressively like defensive against everything. Do you guys want spaghetti or tacos tonight? And it would be like, everything. And she fought me. She fought my team on everything, every step. She kept saying she was leaving. She was going home. She was getting in her car. She was gonna drive back to Arizona. All of these things. And we're like, what are you talking about? Just calm down. Let's just, what. And we worked with her and all of these things. And I remember feeling like, wow, I don't know if I did I do what I needed to do in this situation? Because I had dealt with people like that at FedEx, but then I get to see them next week,
Yeah.
And so it was so crazy, because I put up my next retreat after that, and she was the first person to pay. And so I call my team and I'm like, she paid. And they're like, what? We're like, she wanted to leave. And so again, I can't see her. I mean, I can reach out, see how she's doing, but I can't physically see her every day.
Right.
I made a little group, a Facebook group before, and instantly I was like, oh, this is a whole different person, because I posted like, hey, introduce yourself here. And she started tagging people. Hey, Sarah, you haven't done your post yet. Hey, Maggie, you haven't done your post yet. Hey. And I was like, who is this person?
And this was the lady.
Yeah. And she walked into the next retreat, and I couldn't help but I was dead in my tracks in tears. She was a totally different And the whole time, like, it makes me teary-eyed just thinking about her, because for her, it wasn't about money. It was actually about her, a business that wasn't serving her, and going back to being a really awesome mom. And she was just a different person. And then after that, after that retreat, she sends me a picture of her kids in their own room. And I used to store all my inventory into one room, so they were sharing a room. And now I've just packed it all in boxes for now. I'll figure it out later. But my kids have their own room for this holiday season. And it was just like, it just reconfirmed to me that, I don't teach people just business things. It's really about showing up in life and being successful with what's successful to you, because it's different to everybody else.
Right. Exactly.
And yeah, it was just really powerful. I'm all teary-eyed.
What do you feel like were some of the biggest mental shifts that you made, coming from a place of scarcity and poverty? And, when you grow up with that, that's something that, that's been passed down through generations. And it sounds like you have stopped it in its tracks and it's not going any further. So what do you feel like was the biggest thing that helped stop that scarcity and for you to really come out of that and blossom from it?
Yeah, I feel when I was at FedEx, I started manifesting things, and I didn't even know manifesting was a thing. Like, I read The Secret. I didn't know what the law of attraction was. I was just doing, right? I mean, it was the same thing in my actual like work stuff too. And then when I later sent myself back to school and college and all of that, I was like, oh, cool. I was already kind of doing this guy's method, you know.
Yeah.
I had started manifesting things while I was at FedEx because I knew that there's enough for everybody. And I started to preach that, you know, in corporate life, everyone acted like, oh, well, I can't teach you 100% because then you might beat me or you might be better.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough of everything in the whole wide world for all of us to show up 100%. You showing up 100% does not affect my 100%. It doesn't take from me, you know?
Right.
I started doing all these things, not realizing that that was a thing. And I started to manifest crazy stuff like getting promoted, getting, you know, getting a 6-figure paycheck. You know, I started to manifest all of these things. And within my group, Beauty and Hustle, one of the girls goes, have you ever seen The Secret or read it? And I'm like, what's that? You know, it's totally you. Like, it's exactly what you're doing. You've never read it? And I'm like, no. So she goes, well, why don't you just watch, it's on Netflix or whatever. So I watched it and I look at my husband, I go, does everyone in the whole world not think like this? He goes, I don't think so. And I'm like, why? Why wouldn't you think that? Why would you think that you can't have a mansion? You know, Oprah has a mansion. What's stopping me from being the next Oprah? I mean, I just started really expanding my mind to think if other people are doing it, what me from doing that? Nothing, you know? And so I started to manifest things. I started to get really into the law of attraction and understanding the universe and becoming more spiritual and more connected to how everything is happening for you, not to you. And so I realized in those moments that everything I had went through in my childhood is a blessing. Like, even if it was terrible, such a, because now I can relate to people that need to hear, you know, that they can make it out of those types of situations. And so I really feel once I started to understand that your thinking and your thought patterns are so much more important than your circumstance, it really changed everything for me, because it's like, well, okay, this is a crappy day or this is a crappy time in my life, but I have the power to change it, you know? And so once to understand that power and harness it and it starts working, it's almost addicting. I'm like addicted to manifesting. I literally have, this is on my wall right now. Like, I want to go on this cruise. So it's just been sitting here.
What's the cruise?
There's a cruise to like Australia and New Zealand. And
yeah.
Like, so it's just sitting here staring at me every single day. So when I feel like being lazy, I look at it and I'm like, no, you haven't went on that cruise that you really want to go on. So you're not done working for the day. Just because my bills are paid doesn't mean that I'm done working for the day, because I haven't actually hit everything that I want, you know? But if anyone is listening or watching right now and is trying to get out of this scarcity mindset, it's really understanding that you are so much more than the environment that you're in, and there's for everybody to go around. And it's really important to start thinking in those terms, you know, because if you think like you're broke all of the time, you stay broke, because the universe hears broke, no money, no money, no money. And so it thinks that that's what you want, you know? And so, and I understand why people are skeptical of thinking like that sometimes, because who hasn't, you know, been at rock bottom? I mean, I hit a really low point just this year where I was not, I like went on strike. I didn't work for 2 months. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm so broke. I can't afford a coach. I can't afford to go to any type of, you know, event. And guess what? I just kept getting broker. And one day I decided to wake up, and there was a girl who had came to on a retreat with me, and her mom had passed after the retreat with me. And I woke up one day with this weird feeling of, you need to reach out to her and you need to gift her the next retreat. So at this point, I was like maybe 2 months into selling this retreat. I had only sold 2. And so freaking out. And then I went on strike for 2 months and didn't work, right? And I was freaking out, and I woke up and I'm like, how do you serve the people that you serve? Because stop worrying about the money of trying to sell these people and serve them. So I messaged her and I said, hey, I've been thinking about you a lot. You know, my next retreat is in a month and a half. I would love for me to be able to gift it to you if you're able to make it out. And in that day, I closed 5 retreats, like 5 other people booked with me, right? So I made $10,000 in one day because I woke up and it changed my mindset of not trying to attract money, but trying to attract the right people that needed there, you know, needed my services. So I think it's so hard when you are broke to start thinking like that. But if you change your thought, it really does work.
Yeah. And that reminds me of, you know, like, it's almost like a trance, you know, it's that broke, it's like the broken record. The
Yeah.
broke is a broken record. And you get in this trance and it's like, you can come out of it by just like, take off the record, like break that pattern and put in a new record. And then all of a sudden you're in a different trance. You're in a trance of like manifestation, and you start seeing the world differently. You start seeing your life differently.
Yeah. And I think too, getting out of that woe is me, you know, oh, well, I'm broke and I'm always broke and everyone always has all these better things. It's like, you can't think like that. You know, you have to really be grateful for everything. And I mean, honestly, I spent 2 months of this year being super depressed, and I'm so thankful for it, you know? And I think that the universe then realizes, oh, she gets it. Like, we're going to put her through some stuff, and we're going to see how she reacts to it. And if she reacts this way, this is what's going to serve her. And if she reacts this way, we're going to give her this, you know? And so I feel like waking up that day and having that epiphany, and then being so thankful for it and sharing my story and telling people, you don't have to stay there forever. I mean, you know, it's really about how we deal with what we're going through and how we overcome it. And then the universe goes, okay, she's ready for this next phase, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that if we shift that mindset too, of like, you know, there's so many people that are like, oh, my life is so terrible. Because that's all you do is thinking about how terrible your life is when you're not grateful for the water you drink. You're not grateful for the electricity that you have. You're not grateful that you have a mattress. Because 10 years ago, I remember writing down, right when I didn't realize manifestation was a thing, my husband and I literally wrote down a wants versus needs. And it was like, I wanted a mattress that we both fit on. You know? And to think about, like, that was only 10 years ago. So it would behoove me to not wake up every day and be grateful for even the little things that I have, you know, because at one point I was in desperate need of a mattress. And now I don't want to ever take that for granted, you know? So
absolutely.
If you're somebody that feels like you're stuck, start being grateful for the stuff that you do have, and more goodness will start to come your way.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. 100%. What do you feel like have been the most powerful decisions that you've made that you feel like have contributed the most to where you are now and overcoming all of the hurdles that you've had?
I think the biggest thing that, you know, has helped, or what decisions I've made, is releasing things that no longer serve me. So when I felt that, you know, FedEx wasn't it anymore, like in that depth, I had that, you know, intuition, whatever you want to call it, I could have stayed there, right? I mean, I was making a cushy paycheck. My team literally was doing everything. I can't say I was working very hard at the end, because we had this like respect kind of thing going on where everyone was working super hard. And I knew that quitting was going to be a harder road, but it didn't serve me anymore. So I feel like that every time. And the same thing with the direct sales company that I was with. I was making a lot of money, like a lot of money. I was making $35,000 a month top line revenue. So even conservatively, $15K in profit every single month. By even holding up leggings, right? Easy. That's an easy job. There's not a lot of thought process that goes into a job like that, right? You're like, yay, this is cool. I'm making you stylish. But I left I left that company too when I was doing really well because I felt it again. It wasn't serving me. It wasn't, if anything, I felt like it was a handicap to me. It was my secret little backup plan that if this didn't work, I always could fall back on this. And, so I think that that's the biggest thing in the decisions that I've made is really, really being stern and saying no to things that don't serve me. And even in relationships, there's been a lot of times where I look at people now where I'm like, why are you still friends with that person? Or why do you still talk to your sister when they don't treat you nicely? Like, whatever. And I've just started to, I just don't deal with anybody. Like, if I can't serve you and you're not going to serve me back, then we don't need to be in the same frequency as each other. I wish you well. I'll pray for you. I always want you to win, but I don't need you in my space or in my head or in my ear all the time. And then the last thing too is saying no. I say a no to so many things that it allows me to say yes to the things that I'm super excited about. But that has been a really powerful thing because I think that as we're trying to grow and build and do all of these things, we start to just say yes to everything because we feel like, well, what if this is the opportunity that gets me here? Or what if this is my viral moment or whatever you can think, right? And so I say no to probably like 95% of things that people ask me to do because I want to protect my time so that I can be fully all there with the people that I'm all there with.
Amazing. It sounds like a big part of your decision making is all about boundaries and alignment.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like without boundary, again, it goes to that victim mindset. And I work with women predominantly. So it's like, oh, well, my customers, they call me at midnight or they come to my house or, or whatever, or they're so demanding or
Yeah.
it's like, that's because you haven't set boundaries for yourself. And what I've realized with setting boundaries is that when I set boundaries, it's not just important for me and my workflow and my energy, but it also gives other people permission to do the same.
Absolutely.
Oh, even with my coaching clients, I always say, if you guys message me at night, that's fine. But if I don't answer you, it's because I'm eating dinner and I use my phone at the dinner table. And now, some people may get worried like, oh, well, then what if they don't want to be your coaching client because, you're not going to get back to them right away. And I'm like, it's the opposite. I've actually given that woman permission to put her damn phone down while she's having dinner with her, essentially with her why most of the time, right? And now she has permission to do the same with her customers.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think boundaries are so important and we often cry about it, but it's something that we're not doing. We're not being a good, like I always, ask people when they ask me about like their employees and stuff, I'm like, are they being a bad employee or are you being a bad boss? And in the fact of boundaries, that's you being a bad boss of your life and your business and not saying, you cannot contact me right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to respond to you. So I think that it's really important for us to understand how much power we really have. And we like to deflect it and say that other people are not, are not respectful of our boundaries. But in reality, we haven't set any,
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing your journey and amazing lessons throughout. I'm actually really curious with with the 600 leggings, like that's still blowing my mind. And I'm curious did you save the video when you went live?
I did. Yeah.
Can people see that?
Yeah. So the interesting thing that you asked me on really hard days, I go back to that video.
Yeah.
Like it makes me want to cry just talking about it because we were literally like having fun. We're in our zone. We're selling all of these things. And at the very end, it's so funny because it was like 600 leggings and a couple of tops. At the very end, there was one shirt, and I'm like, somebody buy this shirt. Like, I don't even care if you need a refund tomorrow, just buy it, And as soon as it people started going, well, it doesn't fit me, but sold, I'll gift it to somebody, sold. All of these comments come in literally right after that. While I was live still, I have like a mental breakdown. You can see it. And I'm just like, oh my God, thank you guys. you guys don't know what this means, because my communities on Facebook had no idea what I was going through.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were in the process of buying a home, because I wasn't really sure how it was all going to pan out. So nobody knew what was going on. They just see me as, oh, wow, she's living this dream life. She just got back from Hawaii. Now she's live making all this money. Inside, the turmoil was real, that I was like going to embark on literally lighting my career on fire that I had worked so hard for, but they didn't even know that. And so, yeah, I mean, at the end of the video, I'm just a freaking train wreck. Like, instantly a wave comes over me, because I knew what that then meant, right? Like, it was confirmation from the universe of what I needed to do. And so, but they didn't know. So everyone just thought I was a crazy person, right? And so it was, what's really interesting too, is when I'm having a hard day, I watch that. And when I'm having a day where I'm catch myself feeling a little bit ungrateful, I go look at the live video. We told our community on Facebook, hey, we have a huge announcement for you on Saturday, like in whatever. And we had thousands of people watching us to tell them that we had just bought a home, and give them like a home tour. And people are, commenting, oh my God, I'm crying for you. Thank you. You're giving me hope. If you can buy a home.
Yeah, amazing.
It wasn't like, oh, hey, come look at my mansion or something. It was really about like, because of you guys, we are able to do these things. And I want you guys to realize that you can do hard things too, And so, yeah, I look at those videos a lot when I'm having those kind of crappy days, or I catch myself and I'm like, why, I start to beat myself up, and I'm like, look at how far you've come that moment. So yeah, if you ever want to see that video, I can, I should.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering if we can share it in the comments.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
To download it and put it on like Vimeo or something, because it's in a private Facebook group.
Oh, okay.
That's something I can look at doing today.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah,
totally.
Whenever you can get that.
Yeah.
But awesome. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so grateful to have you on. I know, we only really just met today, but I feel like there was just something telling me that, you're going to be a really good person to have on. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I had a pleasure talking with you guys.
Yeah. So is there anything, like if somebody wants to reach out to you, wants to learn more about what you're doing, where should we send people?
Yeah, so you guys can always find me on any social media under Beauty and Hustle, and also on Facebook. I'm really active on my own like personal profile, so there, and then beautyandhustle.com has more of our backstory, some really cool videos, all of that jazz. And yeah, if you guys want to find me, if you're ever interested in doing any of retreats or anything like that, that's cool. But most importantly, I love for people to interact with me on social media, because I feel as if, my cup is poured on social media, and I'm being poured into there. So if you guys are on social media, I would love for you guys to follow me so I can follow you back and really learn from everybody that I come across. So
absolutely. That sounds great. And for everybody who is listening and watching and shows up or signs up for your next retreat, I would like to also gift everybody, like if they mention this podcast, I have a gift for them too, which is a year subscription to the Rejuvenation Club, which is a year of transformational meditations, which is going to be so perfect for your retreat.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you.